Lupang hinirang quite literally translates to the chosen land. But what happens when our chosen land is no longer chosen by its very own citizens? Good day, fellow Filipinos. Today we will dissect the story Alamat ng Gubat.
In A Twisted Fate, this story by Bob Ong is more like the origin of contemporary Philippine issues.
Where to start? But of course, the heart of the banana. The so-called puso ng saging. A rather sad depiction of Philippine society. It is said that he who finds the heart and does not use it to cure someone with an illness, bad things will happen to the forest.
The heart shall grant any wish true, but it is under that one condition. This can be seen in the greed of the Filipino people for money and power. The reason that the wish is granted, meanwhile the forest will experience hardship, is that the wish is for the person that seeks the power, meanwhile the forest are the citizens that suffer from greed.
Such is the example of President Marcos Jr. being spotted at the Singapore Formula One race, only after Typhoon Carding had hit the nation, despite him providing no relief to his own citizens.
For our first character, we have the son of the Crab King, Tong. The main character of the story is tasked to find the heart of the banana.
Tong is an innocent, obedient child, only following the orders of his father. Of course, he symbolizes the innocence of some Filipinos, especially those unaware of the hidden intentions of unknowing people.
However, it can still symbolize the nature of Filipino children being too trusting of their parents or family. In Filipino culture, we are very family-oriented. And without a doubt, there are often times where we stick up for family, even when we know they are wrong.
Let's take a look at Coco Martin playing Daniel in the 2009 thriller film Kinatay. In the film, Daniel is deceived by many people he knows to join a drug syndicate, deceiving and lying to him that it is good for his family and the right thing to do.
Following Tong is, well, the father of Tong, the man, the myth, the legend, Haring Talanka. The choice to make him a crab is rather odd and may be an ode to the Filipino trademark crab mentality.
And rightfully so, as Haring Talangka had almost certainly lied about being sick in order to grab the heart of the banana. Crab mentality may be seen in that, in order for him to succeed, he must get the heart. But in doing so, he is stepping on and dragging down the people who need the heart for its intended purpose.
Now, the first animal that Tong meets, buaya, crocodiles. Like their tears are seen as mischievous and deceiving animals, and none so different from buaya. For every question Tong asks, he must be paid in pearls.
And Tong, needing to find the pearls, does so. Only for Bowaya to try to eat Tong, leading to him running away. This symbolizes corruption in the Philippines, where there are people who steal from the innocent and more often than not, get away with it due to power or influence.
The best example of that would be the most recent issue here in the country, where a driver swerved into the bike lane and was thus hit, so he drew a gun on the cyclist. However, because he was an ex-police officer, he got away with it.
Maya is the follower and sidekick of Buaya. For example, would be the incident of the new Pagcor logo, which turned out to be a remodeled Facebook page for an old BBM political wing group that was reformatted to look like a graphic design company. This symbolizes small-time corruption from people who lash on to more influential officials.
Palaka is another pretentious follower of Buaya. Such is the case with many political followers and opinions during the 2022 Philippine elections, with many people thinking they know everything, but were in fact consumed by misinformation, disinformation, and fake news.
The display of fate, the two followers, Palaka and Maya, ended up being eaten by Buaya himself. This shows that there is no true honor among thieves. Such is the case with the PDAF or pork barrel scam that was only uncovered when a member of the fake PDAF NGO spilled the beans on the ongoing scam because he was detained by Janet Napoles.
Next would be the gap, or rat. Rat is the symbolism of Filipinos who feel important or privileged just because they are attached to people with power. Such is the case when an individual from Naik, Cavite felt entitled to use the city ambulance to transport a balikbayan box, simply because of her connection to an OFW.
Lion is the king of the jungle. In relation to Philippine society, he He will be the president. He is on top, and everyone should do as he says or else face the consequences.
In the story, he will tell Tong the location of Aso if he finds Pagong and Manok for him, so that he may hunt them later. In this way, it symbolizes that when you have enough power in your position, you can have people do the dirty work for you. Such is the case in former President Rodrigo Duterte's war on drugs, which saw extrajudicial killings wherein the dirty illegal work was done for him.
Continuing on his adventure, Tong meets Ulang, a lobster. At first glance, Ulang has been seen as a lazy Filipino and is tambay, coming from the words on standby. However, he explains that there is a difference in not doing anything and doing nothing.
More likely than not, it symbolized those who have witnessed heinous crimes being paid to keep quiet. Such is the case in the murder case of G. Ik-ju, a businessman suspectedly involved in the Philippine drug trade. He was murdered and kidnapped by PNP and NBI officers in Camp Crame. A key witness was paid 10 million pesos to withhold their testimony but refused.
In another twist of fate, Ulang would be later found dried up and washed up on the beach, symbolizing that he has been killed. Sadly, it is all too real that those who know too much must be eliminated. This is shown very recent in Kamanava killings, where two men suspected to have key intel were brutally murdered.
Aso is also a key character in the story. Aso is someone that easily falls for gossips and ends up choking on their own words. Such was the case for the Filipino netizens debating online about their political opinions, only for them to distribute misinformation and to twist it around later to make themselves look right. And it is because of this that Aso was described as an animal that eats its own vomit.
Moving on, another key event would be the election for the King of the Jungle. An uprising was started by the insects because they felt that they were not equally represented as members of the forest.
However, the election was said to have been rigged and cheated. Such can be seen during the final years of martial law, where it is said that electoral fraud was committed by Ferdinand Marcos Sr. in order to prevent the election of Corazon Aquino, and again was the case with the most recent elections, where it is said that Ferdinand Marcos Jr. bought votes and cheated the elections to prevent Leni Robredo from winning.
The insects represent the forgotten, unrepresented, and marginalized members of society. In the Philippines, this can be seen in our party list system, in the government, where people can vote to be represented. Examples of marginalized communities include women, children, LGBTQIA+, and other Filipinos. However, it can also be represented as activists in the Philippines who are very vocal about reform and other radical changes.
Tipaklong from its name is a grasshopper. As an analogy, he can be viewed as a bandwagon. These are people easily swayed by public opinion, but are very uninformed and do not know what they are fighting for. Such was the case in the issue of Aura Brigela, with many people calling for justice even though they did not know the context, but simply because it was cool to do so.
Langgam is a very contemporary political issue in the Philippines. And as one of the smaller insects, it represents the Filipinos in the lower and middle whose votes can easily be bought and swayed through materialistic offerings or through direct money. The practice of vote buying was very widespread during the last 2022 national elections here in the Philippines.
Paraparo is the last worthy insect on this list, as he is the perfect demonstration of everything wrong with Philippine society. Filipinos are often easily swayed by fame or money. Butterflies were once caterpillars, and Filipinos were once humbled, but with great power came no humility. Such is the example of Filipino-born actor Jake Cuenca, who has made it big in Hollywood but failed to embrace his Filipino beginnings.
Last but not the least would be Maching. He emphasizes the importance of recognizing and fighting against injustices in our society, as well as the need to protect ourselves and others. It emphasizes the importance of understanding that not everyone is good and that we must learn to protect our loved ones and communities, even in difficult times, to ensure the safety of future generations. We must be the voice for those who cannot speak.
All in all, the story of Alamat ng Gubat shows the dynamic of Philippine society and everything wrong about it. It is not necessarily Gubat as in the structure of the forest, but rather as in the structure of social, political, and economic dynamics in the context of the Philippines.
In the faith of Lasallian values, this story shows that even if we cannot be the light, we should be the spark.